All right, my talk is going to be in English because I've never had Armenian talks before, so I do apologize if you have trouble understanding. It's the best that I could, come up with. Let me introduce myself. My name is Narek. I am the content writer / copywriter at Technamin. If you don't know the difference between copywriting and content writing, I'll meet you at Barcamp 2022. Okay? So my talk is going to be about subliminal messages in ads, texts, any sort of marketing material in general. So when people talk about, when you hear the word subliminal, people automatically think bad things. They think about, the devil trying to lead us to, a left-hand path, or rock musicians in the 60s and 70s, trying to convince us to, kill ourselves or sleep with the band members or whatever. In reality, subliminal messages are not negative, and they've been around for many, many years. Why is there a Pixar banner? Anyway, so, and here's an inscription from Urartu, which probably does not make sense here, but it actually does, okay? The curse says, whoever damages this inscription, whoever does something, the god Khaldi, the god Teishpa, and the sun god will basically destroy them. Here's the question, what do you think this message is trying to say? Can anybody answer? Please? Anyone? What is this trying to say? Curse. Well, it's shaped like a curse. What it's actually trying to say is just these two sentences. I'm powerful, please go away. Okay? Subliminal messages are these messages that you don't actually mean when you say, or you mean them, but you don't actually say them out loud. Okay? And they've been around for many, many years. The first time I was exposed to subliminal messages was when my uncle came from the United States. He was showing us pictures of him in Las Vegas. And there was a picture of him that had, behind him it said wet floor, and the floor was obviously wet, right? So I asked my dad, how come there's a wet floor sign where we can see clearly that the floor is actually wet? What's the point of having a wet floor sign when the floor is obviously wet, right? The actual point is, they're trying to tell you, hey, the floor is wet. If you walk on a wet floor, you fall down, you break your ass. It's not our fault, okay? The insurance company isn't going to cover it. That's a lot of ground they're covering with just one sign. Here's another example. How many of you have gone on dates before? Raise your hands. Oh my God, this is a depressing room. Okay, Jesus. All right. Okay. All right. So here's a guy question. Have you ever told a girl that she's beautiful? Yeah. Okay. Do you really think she doesn't know that? Of course she does. Every girl knows she's beautiful. They're telling her that to mean something else. That could mean 1,000 things. Let's get to know each other more. Let's go out on a second date, on a third date. Let's do other things that we're not going to talk about in this room. Okay? So basically, that's how it works. It's a subliminal message. You're telling them you're beautiful, and instead you mean other things. How many of you are married or are in a relationship? Okay. Okay. How many times has your partner told you that they love you? Oh my God. Sorry, how many times have your partners told you that they love you? Wow. Okay. Do they always mean that? Because sometimes if they change the intonation, it can mean 1,000 things. All right, if you break something, you look at your wife, you're like, I love you. That doesn't mean you love her. That means please don't kill me.
Put me outside on the well.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so it's a subliminal message, all right? The word subliminal itself, where's the other slide? There. It means existing or functioning below the threshold of consciousness, okay? That means it's done unconsciously. And in order to talk about subliminal messages, we have to mention one of the most famous figures, Sigmund Freud. Okay, how many of you know about Freud? Great. Okay, now most people know Freud for his theories on basically a lot of things, most of them dealing with sexual themes, all right? He came up with the concept of the unconscious. And to this day, nobody knows what it is. Freud doesn't know what it is. He just knows that it exists and it can be influenced quite directly, and that influences our actions whenever we want to do something. Doesn't matter if it's buying something, reading a book, watching a movie. It's all controlled by your subconsciousness. Now, I don't know how well you can see this, but the bulk of our personality, the iceberg theory, is our unconscious. Okay? That's where you'll find our fears, or our ridiculous motivations, or sexual fantasies, basically everything. Okay? Now, when Freud came up with this theory, that's when marketers and advertising agencies were like, oh, we can actually use this to sell stuff. All right? But instead of focusing on all of these, they decided to focus on what Freud focused on the most, which is phallic symbolism, the male sexual organ. Okay? I don't know why they did this, but that's just how the trend started. And that led to a trend of advertisements. Bear with me here, this is going to get ugly. Okay, usually in the 20s, the 30s, 40s, all the way to the 80s, of ads. Lipstick that's shaped not like a lipstick. Skinless sausages. Do you get the idea? I hope so. You're above 18, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, shit. All right, Tootsie Roll. Even 7-Up came in with their version of it. Okay? The cigarettes, obviously, they were all symbolic of Freudian theories, all right? This one was a bit more clever because you can't actually see anything. I mean, you can if you imagine, but if you can see here in the ice cubes, it says sex, okay? Unfortunately, everything arrives to Armenia a bit late, okay? So Armenian companies are just catching up to this trend. Like 30 years after, it's almost done and it's over, okay? And we have designs like that. This is what I have here.
I would not do that after this.
Yeah, exactly. That was the whole point. See, I came, I saw, I made it awkward. Okay. At one point, marketing agencies were like, enough is enough. We hate seeing these everywhere. It's in movies, it's in music, it's in ads, it's in pictures, it's in everywhere. Let's do something else. Because just like Freud says, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. Okay? So this is where real subliminal marketing comes in. The prime example of this is Amazon. How many of you have shopped on Amazon here? Okay. How many of you have noticed the 3 messages in the logo?
Everybody knows that.
Are you sure?
It's not the 3 or the 3 I know.
Okay.
The one is like, it has everything from A to Z.
Yeah, exactly. This one, from A to Z, it means they have every kind of item. Second message is, it goes from point A to point Z. Okay? Because Amazon introduced Amazon FBA, Amazon Prime, and these are basically all transmitted into their logo. The other one is, and I've heard this in just one interview, I'm not sure if the graphic designer confirmed this, but it's supposed to represent Jeff Bezos' smile, which I don't think it does, because he looks ridiculous, okay? I don't know what's with rich people and baldness. I wonder if I should ever be rich, because I don't want to go bald, all right? This is not discriminatory against bald people, by the way. We love you guys. Now let's talk about how we create a subliminal message. Okay, we create what is called contagion. Now I know contagion in the context of COVID-19 doesn't really sound nice, okay, but contagions are basically messages that are transformed from one person to a larger group. Does that make sense? Okay. Do you guys know any examples of contagions?
COVID.
Besides COVID? The more we talk about it, the more dangerous it gets. Close enough. Anything else?
Influencer marketing.
Influencer marketing. What is the basic form of contagion? Can anyone tell me? You all know this. There's not a single person in this room that doesn't know. Huh?
Here we are, the contagion.
I see what you did there. But seriously, stories, folk tales, they're all contagions. They come from authority. Our parents usually tell us those stories. We tell them to our kids tell them to their kids, and it keeps spreading over and over again. The same principle works when you want to create basically a subliminal message. All right? Now I'm going to give you a real life example of how this actually worked, something that I've personally gone through. I'll give you two examples. One I'll use the slide to give you, the other one I'll tell you verbally. Do you know what that is? I mean, I don't know how well you can see it.
Where is that bird?
Well, no, in the entire thing.
Image?
That's an aerial image of Tehran, where I used to live until 2 years ago. That's what it looks like in winter. And that's not smog, that's pollution. And pollution that kills. Pollution that is terrible. We were actually wearing masks before COVID-19 existed. We were doing it before it was cool. Okay? No, we didn't invent it, but we were wearing masks. Okay? So in the winter of 2012, the pollution got so bad, people started dying from it, including some of my own relatives. Okay? They would cause anything: tuberculosis, lung cancer, breathing problems, like sight problems. Kids were being born deformed because of the lead that was in the air that the mothers were breathing during their pregnancy. So it was horrible. But somehow the Iranian government figured it out. They didn't solve it, but they reduced the issue. And months after this whole thing, a new brand of drinking water was introduced to the Iranian market. Okay, this is Oksab. All right? You can tell from the name that has something to do with oxygen. This is a water that was allegedly full of oxygen. Okay? And it's sold like freaking hotcakes. Do you know why? It's just water. I've drank it, tastes nothing. It's the same thing here, same thing. No, that's not water. Same thing here, same thing there. No difference at all. Okay? Do you know how they marketed it?
H2O2?
Yeah. Basically, they created a contagion. What was the contagion in this scenario? If we're talking about pollution, how does the contagion spread? If the air is polluted, okay, and a little kid wants to go out, he has to wear a mask, right? And that's how it spreads. One kid wears a mask, he tells his friend, the friend wears a mask. And in comes a genius marketing strategy. Let's use people's fear of the bad weather to sell our product, okay? And when they introduce something like this that is full of oxygen, okay, it sells like hotcakes. Even though it had no difference between any sort of bottled water. Literally the same taste. That's how you create a subliminal message. Here's another example. Do you guys like bacon?
Yep.
Yeah, bacon, yeah. What is bacon made out of? Pork. It's made out of pork, okay? Who doesn't eat pork, do you know? Besides vegetarians. Muslims don't eat pork. So by logic, you won't have bacon in Iran, right? That's where you're wrong. There's bacon in Iran.
Made out of?
Do you call it cow? Do you call it bacon like cow? Govi misov. Right? So how did that operate? How come there's a bacon that's not even bacon, but is selling because people think that it's bacon? Okay? This is what happened. Marketing geniuses, and I know both of the guys who did this project, started surveying the youth in Iran. The youth, I mean people from the age 18 and up, all the way to 40, okay? And they realized they have a morbid fascination with American action movies. Okay, Persians love America. This is a thing I'm gonna break. They love the United States. They love watching movies that are made in Hollywood. They love that lifestyle. And something you see a lot in those movies is bacon. So the guy had an idea. I'll create bacon that honestly tastes terrible. I've had it. It doesn't cover the bacon in Armenia. But it's selling insanely well among that same demographic because subconsciously those people are associating it with an American lifestyle. That's why they're going out, they're buying it, and it's a successful product. This is one other way of subliminal messaging. Basically, this is how it starts. Okay? Now here's the issue. Once you figure out you can tap into people's unconsciousness and you can actually control them, you can do a lot of bad stuff, horrible stuff. Religion uses subliminal messaging. Okay? Politics, it's all subliminal. The worst politicians are the ones who directly tell you to go and vote for them because you're not going to do it. We're little kids still inside. We're all little kids. You tell us to do something, we go do the exact opposite. You tell us not to do something, we will go and do that exact thing. All right? So it's very easy to subliminally control human beings. All right? And when you have the ability, when you're that good at marketing, when you're that good at advertising, then you can tap into people's unconsciousness. It gives you a great deal of power. Okay? And as we know, I don't know how many guys of you know him, there was this comic designer called Stan Lee. I'm sure you've heard of him. He designed pretty much every other cool comic book character, all right? And in Spider-Man, he has a very famous quote. With great power comes great responsibility. And in this context, it makes total sense. How many of you are involved in marketing here? Cool. Are you going to design products that kill people? Why not?
Just in case.
Just in case. Yeah. Well, it's not ethical because you have immense power over people, right? You can fool people into doing stuff that they would never do and harm them as a result. So if you're very good at your job, if you're good at marketing, if you're good at any other field that helps marketing improve, like design. Narek was talking about ethical design upstairs moments ago, okay? One of our other friends, Gore, was also talking about ethical design. Ethics in business is extremely important, especially when you have immense power over people's brains. Okay, thank you for bearing with me. If you have any questions, I will be very happy to answer them. Thanks. Any questions? Was that a question, Aram? Oh, okay. No questions?
How do you design things that are meant to kill people?
How do I design things?
I don't think
How do you design things that are meant to kill people and design them ethically?
That's a very good question.
Guns.
Well, not guns, but there is a question in there that's actually worth a lot. Do we have time?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Perfect.
30 minutes.
What?
30 minutes.
Oh, okay. I thought 30. I'm like, what the hell? All right. So, yes, very good question. Can you design stuff that kills people but is ethical at the same time? What do you think is the answer to this question?
I think yes.
Absolutely right. That's absolutely right.
Because
Look
you
at,
can design a knife for like cooking.
and you can design.
Kill with that.
Okay, where's the ethics in there? I think he has a different question. Look at the history, and I have a very morbid fascination with these things, okay? Don't ask me why, I don't know. So, ask Freud. So, look at the history of execution. Look how it's progressed. Forget about Iran or countries that are still progressing. Think about progressed countries, okay? They used to pretty much tear a person apart in public view. Everybody would gather around, eat popcorn, and watch the execution. Okay? What happened after that? With each generation, the execution methods became less and less brutal, until they got to a point where the public doesn't even see the executions anymore. Okay? They got to another point where the person that's being executed doesn't actually feel their own death. That took a very dark turn, but that's ethical. It kills people, but it's ethical at the same time. Although there's debate of maybe if you're doing euthanasia to a person, and like one chemical is like 1 millimeter different, the guy is going to probably suffer more than he would suffer under a guillotine. All right? But it's still 1 in 100, and it's still very, very ethical. And you know, Armenians are like, not Armenians, but the person who did this was Armenian, Jack Kevorkian. That's how he was trying to subliminally, although he was sometimes very unsubliminal, it was very direct and to the point. But that's the message he was trying to sell subliminally, of how to design an instrument that can technically take a person's life away, but it's completely ethical at the same time. Although when we discuss ethics, then it goes into philosophy, which is not the talk now. I don't want to get into that, all right? Any other questions? I hope I answered that as best as I could. I can't answer it directly. I don't know the answer. Anything else? Anything related to marketing, content? Have you seen Disney movies that have a lot of subliminal messaging in them? Like very ugly stuff hidden in children's cartoons?
Like all that? Like all Disney movies?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
You know about them, right? Okay. Do you think there were subliminal messages?
Sure.
No.
Right?
They were just bored designers trying to mess with Disney.
Just having
They were just having fun, okay? And they were using that. It wasn't like sending any messages to kids. All right, that's it for today. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.